Now working towards your job and like working in there, not much of it applies. Right? You have that foundation, but now it's up to you to build that from there.
Hi, welcome to the HT Show podcast. Again, this is Jim Vin, this is Jun Kian, and today we have
Justin.
Justin. Please let's do this first before we get 1, 2. Okay, let's go.
I was excited. I'm super thirsty.
Yes.
So.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Justin, can you tell us where you're from, a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in Tunyi? Let's start with that.
And your profession.
Yeah. Profession. Okay, so my name is Justin. I'm from Don Emanuel from Olympia. Shout out. And I've been Tunyi since Nyan Ao. Yep. Well, we don't do cups, but
That's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Long time. I was in before I was allowed to be in.
Oh,
like,
unknown kind of thing.
Yeah,
I'll see
like
whatever.
the little kid walking around the corner. That was me. And then
Did your parents like get you in somehow special because they were Huing Chung too, or you were just lucky?
my parents aren't actually Catholic.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so it was my uncle. My uncle got me in, and he just dragged me along, and he kept like, "Hey, just keep going. You might like it."
Yeah.
Because he was a Huin Chung for a while, and
It was Don Jung for a while.
yeah, Don Chung, like I think
I worked with him.
8 years. He did like 3 or 4 terms. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And then just never really liked it until like USC. No, not even USC. I think like HIPC is when I started liking it.
Really?
Yeah. I stayed with the whole time.
Is that because you had more friends during that age, or what made you like it more then?
I think more friends, more people, more like outgoing, right? That's like I got out of the awkward like middle school phase that everyone goes through.
I'm still stuck in that phase.
And with HIPC, I was like branched out a little bit and then started making more friends, started getting outside my shell, and that's when I started getting like really good.
Do you remember when you went to Kapmok?
Gym camp?
Yeah.
I went right when I could, so like 2018.
Okay.
And that was it was an experience. It wasn't, my knowledge wasn't good.
Yeah.
Right? But that's what all the training was for. I felt a little unprepared, but I think Dojun Fall helped a lot. And
Were you pushed into it, or were you like at that point because you have friends and you were in HIPC for a while and you like it? You wanted to be a Huing Chung, or were you pushed into it?
I wouldn't say pushed into it, but it was definitely like I was the only one going for my Don.
Oh.
Technically, I had like another person, but she kind of left. Or
Sure.
it wasn't like my friends that were going because they kind of dropped out too before.
Oh,
going
that's
to
tough to go without any friends.
I think it was me, Gung, and it was just us two from our Don that went, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. I knew like people that I knew from Dojun Fall, which helped out a lot. And
Was that Mayfield, right?
yeah, I was at Mayfield.
Yeah.
It was a good experience though. Overall, I felt unprepared going in. I unprepared left, but that's fine. That's all I need in my life.
Yeah.
And
So now, a few years later, what roles have you had now in your Don? Because you've had a couple at least, right?
so I think within the 6 years, 6 years. I'm trying to age myself too. So Kapmo. I guess I started off with Yan Chung for Nyan Teal.
Wait, you started out as a Huing Chung?
I think like
right away?
19. Yeah.
Wow.
His Don was very small.
Yeah.
Oh, I got you.
And then 2020, I was supporting for HIPC. So like I was born in 2000. So like everything's just scales, right? So 2020, I'll be 20. So when I was 20, I was helping with supporting for HIPC. That ended up taking over for that. So that was like a big step because we needed more like effort in there. And so I was taking more leadership roles within HIPC. And it was weird. That was that age gap where it's like a 20-year-old teaching like 16, 17-year-olds. It was difficult.
Yeah.
But, I was close with the students there. So it ended up working out where I was able to kind of work together with them.
Yeah.
And they understood.
Were you the oldest Huing Chung in HIPC at that point when you were Huing Chung? Or was there someone older than you? Or were you the only Huing Chung?
He was older than me, but it was more of all the other Huinchers were occupied with their own Yans.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so it just happened to be where I had the capacity to teach HIPC. And then
How did you relate with them at that age? You said it was very difficult.
Should be very good because you're very close in age with them, right?
Yeah.
I think I used that to a pro, right? So I was able to say like, I was in your age not too long ago, right? Like I'd be like, oh,
2 years ago.
2 years ago, I'm going through what you're going through right now. So
Yeah,
it's like a lot more relatable, and they see it as more like not like a teacher, but kind of like maybe like a bigger brother. And so I use that to my advantage.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, now I got kids saying like I'm 30, 35. I'm like, what, 6 years older than you? I'm not that old.
Yeah.
And yeah, so 22, I went to Cup High for HIPC, which ended up working out perfectly. And then 23, went to, no, not 23, 24, I went to Cup Ba. And so getting in the process of getting promoted for Cup Ba. And just stayed with HIPC ever since then.
Good.
Favorite Yan, hands down. I love HIPC the most.
Yeah. All the kids are definitely very interested to teach.
Did you enjoy Cup Ba? Or which cup was your favorite? Come on, Cup Ba training camp.
I'd say Cup High was probably my favorite. I think I cried like 4 times during that.
Yeah.
Because it was more emotional because like with HIPC, you want to get into their mindset. You want to get into their emotions. And it helps to kind of put yourself at their level and kind of go back to it.
Yeah.
And like understand it,
Yeah.
It's nice.
Nice.
Cup Ba was okay.
Yeah.
it was Arizona. It was hot. I hate hot weather, so it didn't work out too well.
Yeah. And so right now, you're currently Phong Yin Hun at Yodon, right?
Yeah. So I started my first term, 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Sure.
And then got reelected for that, and then ending that next year. So, and then I'm also in Yangchung for HIPC for like 2 years already, 3 years.
And you also have a role in the Lindon level, yeah?
Oh, yeah. I'm also within Lindon, I'm Ban Ki Tuat. So,
Ban Gekko.
yeah, cut the grass.
It's actually funny. We were at training camp last year, right? And he's doing Ban Ki Tuat, take care of all technical stuff and whatever. And then we're at this location where there was this grass area that the Samachung wanted to use for one of the Hajun Tin or whatever it was, right? But it was really had a lot of overgrown grass. So this guy goes over to his your brother's house, drove over to his brother's house down the street, whatever, grabbed a lawnmower, came back, started mowing the lawn, and I helped him with the weed whacking and stuff.
Oh, geez.
And then, so
it must have been crazy overgrown though.
It was like up to like my calves.
Yeah.
It was overgrown. And the funny thing, we didn't even use it.
Yeah.
We cut all that grass, we like made it look good. It looked nice too. It was
good. Yeah.
The surrounding grass made it look like it was like a whole scene.
Yeah.
Oh,
Didn't use it.
Yeah. It was for lutein. We were about to use it for lutein, right? Yeah.
It was the thing of allergies. We were scared that people were gonna have allergies.
But the Samachung recognized him for being on but first time she's ever seen like Ban Gekko, cutting the grass there. It was great.
You should make the kids do it, right?
Yeah.
As part of a game or something. So
cut grass with like little scissors.
But
make a till new meaning out of it.
But now you're that's your teeny job. What's your full-time job?
Yeah. So right now I'm a software developer. I work for the state. And or like state government. And I'm considered an application developer. And so that's like kind of their way of saying a full stack developer. So I built the front and the back end and do like database and all that good stuff.
So I have no idea what a lot of those mean when you say front end and back end. Treat me as if I'm an Onyi. I know you don't teach Onyi, but treat me as if you're talking to Onyi.
Maybe even HIPC kids, right? Maybe they want to get there that age where they're about to explore college and they want they might want to go to that field. How would you explain that to them?
Like front end.
Okay, let's start with that. What is front end?
So even I don't even know. Like honestly, at this point, I just write code and it looks good. But yeah, so front end is essentially the pretty part, right? That's like you go into like Facebook and you see all these like cool animations, everything like that. It looks beautiful. That's the front end. Back end are like the nerd, like the people behind the sheets that are like kind of crunch the numbers. They works with like databases, algorithms to make sure that the front end flows correctly.
Gotcha. So you doing a website for the state, or you doing is it a website or just applications in general?
Yeah. So specific towards working in the state, I built applications which are like web apps, and so I would build like, for example, right now I don't know how much I can talk about, but essentially I'm building an application that works with patients and manages like who comes in, who comes out.
Gotcha.
And so we don't publish anything online because it's within our local network, local in-house applications. Yeah. And so I make like basically a whole project that they can just log on to like a URL and input all the data, and it works, processes all of it, and then goes out.
Wow. So you do a lot of web apps, and it doesn't have to be, you develop it, and then once it's done with the project, you might move on to a different project.
Yeah.
So and then you might own it a little bit afterwards too then.
So then you have to fix bugs for it, right? How do you get the bugs? Do people use it and they submit bugs to you, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we have like a project management team, and they'll send in all the bugs to me, and then be like, hey, is this something we need to really address? Like, is it urgent? If it's like cosmetic, or if it's like nothing important or urgent, it's kind of put in the backlog, and we kind of go through the next sprint and we'll add that in. If it's something really urgent, then we'll go through and we would push it out right away as soon as we can, because we need to. But yeah, they just send in that report and then goes in.
So have you been with this place since after college?
Yeah, so I think I graduated 2022, and I just been there. I had like a 1 month break out of school. People were like, "Oh, you should take a 6 month break, enjoy your life after." And I was like, "No, I want that.
Do not
that
do
money."
That. Do not do that.
Yeah.
Once you do that, it's like it's hard to get back. And then when you apply to jobs, people are like, "What have you been doing the last 6 months?" You know,
Yeah.
enjoying life? No.
Yeah. You got to pay off the student loans too, right? So
That's a whole nother battle right there.
do you work with a lot of people, or do you work from home, or do you work in office? And if you work in office, are you surrounded by a lot of people, or is it pretty much everyone in the cubicle kind of thing?
Yeah, so I work at home. I'm grateful, blessed to be working at home.
Full time?
Full time, yeah. So I don't have to go into the office. I work for like a hospital, so it's like they don't have a lot of space anyways for developers. So
Wait, you work for a hospital, but even though it's part of for the state or part of the states.
Yeah, it could be a state hospital.
Oh, it could be state
Yeah,
hospital.
state hospital.
Okay, sorry.
and it's for like behavioral hospital, so it's more like enclosed.
Yeah.
And so it's nice that I'm able to stay at home.
Nice.
So I was at home. I do have a pretty big team. I think it's like a team of like 25 developers, which is really
geez.
big but we're like a big branch, if that makes sense. So it's like, I work for DSHS. It's like a Department of Social Health Services.
Yeah.
And so they have like different branches under that.
Yeah.
And I work in a specific one that has like 10 people, 15 people.
Is it just one hospital, or just like a whole network of state hospitals in the state?
Now I don't know about much, but I know
yeah.
that there's a main one, and then there's like about 10 other like locations, and some are like at specific spots.
Gotcha. So you support all of them then potentially?
Depends on I'm a weird I'm in a weird position for my job, because most of them are working they got their job at that certain spot, and they work on applications for that spot. I'm at like a weird angle because I was on a different project where it was all the facilities, and they didn't want to do that, but they're trying to push for more enterprise solutions, which like they can use this application for every single spot. And so I'm like kind of theory crafting, testing it all out for them. And it's weird. I'm supposed to be with one hospital, but I've been trying to figure that out.
That's cool. It's good to have your hands in almost everything, so that if one position is kind of closed, then you can be able to move to a different one too. So I assume with state, it's like pretty good benefits and pretty good retirement too, right?
It is pretty good. I don't know that much. I don't look at all that stuff. I asked my uncle, I'm like, hey, what do you think I should do?
You're very young. You're very young. You're not thinking about retirement yet.
Something that we should have asked all of our guests is about pay, salary. I mean, I'm not going to ask directly how much you make. I'm not asking that.
You can Google that.
Yeah. But I'm just like, but let's say they want to do it. For people who are interested in the field, can you give like a range, maybe like an entry level range of salary, and potentially the high end and low end?
Yeah, I would say like, as a developer, right? I'm just gonna like broad, like make it super broad. Developer, you can probably estimate like 55, 60K starting, up to like, I don't know, like 500K. It depends on how badly you want to work and how badly you want that money.
That's a huge
range. And this big risk too, right? So like, I know a couple of my friends, they worked at like Amazon or like Facebook. They're making like 200K, because that's including like the bonuses, stock. And then they'll lose their job within like a year or two. Which is something like, is that something you want to risk? Like if you're young,
high risk, high
you want to do
reward.
that. For me, I went with the more secure position where with state, you can work there for 6 months. And once you become like permanent is what they call it. It's really hard to get fired. Like it's really hard to lose your job. You can destroy a whole like database and do all that stuff, and they'll be like, okay, we're gonna write you up for 6 months. You gotta fix that in 6 months.
Obviously, you don't encourage that, right?
Yeah, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
That is so
Nice.
cool. I think that's what the idea is when it comes to these kind of state government jobs. They tend
Stable.
to pay a little bit less, but they're stable. And if something happens, they'll probably move you to a different position. So I think that's always a good idea to do.
Working for the state, do you guys have the same level as like other companies like Microsoft and Amazon, where there's like they go through like L1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever it is?
Yeah, so state, it's very like standard within all the other departments. So there's like your entry, which I think they go from like 55 to like 90K. And then you have your juniors or journeys that go from, I want to say like 70 to like 120. And then your seniors, I don't know too much. I think like starting off at like 90 to 150. And then you have one more above that, I don't remember, but it's like an expert. And that's the money. But that's really hard to get that job. It's really rare. For me, and then once you get your job too, you can, what's it called? Like negotiate your salary and ask for steps. Because state, they do like different steps. So you go A, B, C, D, all the way up to like, L or something like that. And every year you get a raise. Every year you get a guaranteed 2-step raise, which is really nice. I think right now I'm on like step E or F or something like that. And then I think like number wise, I'm at like 95 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then next year I should go up another like 4 or 5K.
Yeah. And you can look this up online. I think really
Yeah,
easy.
yeah.
I think when it comes to state, it's
public
even more
information.
transparent.
Yeah, it's public.
Oh, they like you can search up my name and you'll see exactly how much I'm making. No, don't search me up. Like, maybe I might be like exaggerating a little bit, but
yeah. Maybe they
I've done
wanna date you.
I've
They wanna look
actually-
you up, right?
So,
like as of now it says 95. Okay? So maybe last year I made like 92.
high potential is what he's saying.
Yeah.
50 to 500 is what he's saying.
That's funny about that. When I started dating my fiance, she's also a state employee. And so I looked her up. I looked her salary up. She got mad at me for that. So instead of asking her directly, and I looked it up and she got mad at me.
You're like, hey, it's public data, right?
Like, hey, how much you make? No, you don't. How do you know?
Yeah.
That's what they should put on dating website now. You just put your exact rank and whatever instead of telling
There
how much you
are
make.
there are websites like Glassdoor or
Yeah.
Level, FYI, whatever, that tell you a good range or for whatever field or whatever role you're in, right?
Yeah.
You can look those up. It's pretty easy.
But I do want to jump in. You can look up how much you make, Justin make, but at the end of the day, the benefits are way better when it comes to state.
Yeah.
So with healthcare and then your retirement. So if anyone's looking to date Justin, just know I'm not sure you have a girlfriend or not, but if anyone's looking to date Justin, just know that in the future his retirement is going to be amazing.
Oh,
right?
it's nice. It's really nice. I know from what I've heard, right? I don't really care about that much right now, but which I should. I know that's a really important thing. But I just know I'm throwing in money in there and hoping it grows. I think people in state, they can, if they stay within like the 30 years, they can retire at like 55, or at least for me, if I stay for around 30 years. And I believe, I don't know if I'm right or wrong about this, but they kind of match how much your peak pay was at like 70%. So like once I'm 55 and I retire, they can keep matching my, like, if my peak was like 110, they'll pay me like 75, 80K every year.
You mean a pension?
I think pension, is that what it's called?
Yeah,
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty
something.
cush.
It's something along those lines. Yeah, because
Okay.
Kyle has a pension too. Yeah,
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
if she stays for 10 years. Yeah.
should've
Once it vests. Yeah.
You should look that up instead of looking what her pay is. Look up her pension.
yeah.
So how did you decide to get into software, like software development, So is it something that, I assume it's a 4-year program for college, right?
Yeah.
So you have to decide at one point to get into the program when you first start college, I assume.
Yeah, so that wasn't my dream job at all. I wanted to do engineering, but that was way too much math. I hated math. Like I can do math, I'm not great at it.
Yeah.
And so I moved on to software engineering because I was like, okay, this is kind of me. It's a good middle. And I felt like it kind of itched my creativity of like, I want to build something. And it's free, right? It's a really good way to show your creativity, and it's free. Funny story is, I think the biggest thing that got me in was, I don't know if I'm like incriminating myself here, but there is like this, like a game opening site.
Yeah.
And I kind of found like a exploit, or not an exploit, but it's like you get a free like case if you join. I wrote a script that can make a bunch of accounts for me.
Oh, yeah.
And I ended up making like $2,000-$3,000 when I was like 15.
Yeah.
And that type of money, I was like, oh
Nice.
shoot. So I built a computer with that, and I got into development, got into building all that stuff. And I'm like, dude, this is crazy. Like, you can make some money off of this.
Yeah.
And then I just got into it. I was like, oh, might as well get a career out of it.
Nice.
I assume this is the story you tell all your HipC kids.
No, I did not.
About gaming the system.
No, I don't want them to do that. But I do tell them, like, this is different career paths that you can do. You really do what I don't want to say you do what you want to do, but you want to like find a good balance of if it's fun enough for you to stay in that field. But don't go strictly for money. Don't go like straight. I know like people who do data science, like they make good money.
Yeah.
I can never look at like numbers for a long time.
How did you know though? Like, were you in college when you were like, oh, engineering is not for me? Like, or was that in high school, or was that a different time? There's got to be a specific time.
I would say high school, like before I started college, I knew I wanted to do software engineering. Engineering, like when I wanted to stop, like not really go into that field, it was probably high school as well, like early high school. I was like, yeah, no, engineering's too hard.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. It doesn't seem as rewarding.
Yeah.
But then I saw the money for software engineering. I'm like, that's why I want to do that.
I think a lot of people see software engineers, outside those that work for Microsoft, Amazon, those big tech companies, and they're living a good life. They're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year plus the bonus and stocks. That's all what every software engineer aims to achieve, right?
Yeah.
But it isn't always like that. Especially when you work in public government, you start a lot lower than that and kind of work your way up from there.
And I do know, like working with the private companies, it's you don't have like a basic like 8 to 5 job. I know like some people will wake up at like 6 and then go work until like 8.
Yeah.
And so like they're making a lot more money, but they're also doing way more work. Yeah. Like the amount of work I do in state, it's very more like standard. Like, okay, I clock in, do this, clock out. I'm gonna finish everything on time, even early, as long as I keep working on it during my day job, and I don't put too much strain on my body and health and mind and everything like that. So it's a good trade-off.
So you say it's like a little bit more slower pace kind of thing, where those companies are like high pace, high risk, high reward kind of thing. Yeah.
Was there any time during your years in college because you went straight into the engineering program, so that's 4 years of college straight from high school?
Yeah.
So number one, was it hard to get into that program?
Yeah. So I did Running Start, so I had the 2 free years of.
Nice.
I had my A when I finished high school.
Yeah.
Great choice. If you can save money, do that. You save so much, and it's you do the trade-off. Like you don't have that college experience, but that college experience kind of gets boring after 2 years. Now I went to UW. I couldn't get into CS program because it was very difficult. I was in that weird spot where if you applied, you wouldn't get in, but they want like new students to apply. I didn't understand too much, so I tried to go for informatics, which is their IT program. That was also really hard because everyone who wasn't getting to CS go to IT.
Yeah.
And I think it had like a 10% rate, and I applied once, and you can only apply once every year. And I was like, I'm not going to wait another 6 months. It was during that weird COVID time too. Yeah. So I transferred to St. Martin's and I got into their CS program and just finished it 2 years there.
What, when you were in college, did you learn a lot of languages, just like entry level basics of every language? And then did you use any of that after college?
I mean, honestly, I won't say college for CS is kind of useless. Like, hey, it comes with pros and cons, right?
Every major.
It's useful. Okay. So it is useful, right?
Yeah.
So you understand that you understand why the code works, right? So you understand why, like, you learn more about the theory of computer science. You learn more about the logic behind it. You learn about algorithms. You learn all the data structures, all that stuff. That's good stuff. Now working towards your job and like working in there, not much of it applies. Right? You have that foundation, but now it's up to you to build that from there. I think I probably use like 10% of what I learned in school for my job.
Like version control and stuff like that.
Yeah. They don't even teach that in school. Really? They don't teach Git or anything. They just teach like data structures. That's the only thing I really pay attention to.
So you have to learn it on the job then afterwards.
Yeah. I think my job interview was hilarious. I was surprised I got the job afterwards.
Wow. How so?
So I applied after college. I applied to 3 jobs. I applied for Microsoft. Applied for this one private company in Seattle that was for cybersecurity. That was my dream job. Dream job. After engineering, I wanted to go into CS, and CS was I want to go in cybersecurity because that seemed really interesting. It wasn't interesting, but it was kind of boring. But I was like, I can make a career out of this. And then I applied for a state job where I'm at right now. And so Microsoft, I got to their final stage of interviews, and then it turns out they gave me the wrong test. That was hilarious. They gave me a level 1 test instead of level 2 test. And so I retook the level 2, and I didn't pass that one because that thing was hard. And it would make sense. It was like a journey position. And then I applied for my cybersecurity, and their interview was really easy. It was just like, explain what a private and public key. No, not even that. It was like foreign keys and all the data or cybersecurity stuff. And then I applied for my current one, which is the funny one. I went in. I didn't look at the job description. They were asked for ASP.NET MVC, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's C#." I went in. I did not understand one lick of code. Like all that made no sense to me. I was like, "What is happening?" It's all like all these random numbers and stuff. And they were just like, "Okay, well, yeah, like talk us through how you do this." I'm like, honestly, I don't know what's happening right now. I'm going to search it up and see if that's okay. And they're like, oh yeah, it's open. A lot of coding interviews, they're open notes, open like web. And so they want to see how you think. And so I was like, okay, first I'll do this. I want to figure out that foundation, like how that code works. And then I figured out 2 out of the 3 questions, and they were like, oh, okay, cool. And they said, okay, so what would you do when you're stuck? And I was like, oh, I would ask someone around me. Honestly, if I was stuck, I would ask someone like a senior developer and see how they would go through this. And I got the results back that I did pretty bad on the interview, or not the technical part. But they hired me on. They offered me a job because they said you seemed really willing to learn, and you had a really good personality and very good people skills, communication skills. We want to give you a job offer. You seem like you can learn this stuff. And I was like, oh yeah. Thanks. I guess.
So you accepted that? That's the job you.
Yeah. And then the cybersecurity one gave me the job offer too, but
really?
it was a trade off. I had to go drive up, commute. I had to get an apartment up in Seattle. It wasn't worth it. It was the same pay too, which I was like, no. And I had to go apartment. So.
I think that's the one thing about interviews. When I'm interviewing people for things on my team, other roles on my team. It's the exact same thing. I don't care if you know this stuff. I do care if you technically know it. It's kind of, out of technicality. But I'm more concerned about, are you willing to learn? Are you willing to, you have good personality? That's more what I care about. I can teach you the rest of it.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense for sure. Yeah.
I think my old manager I had an internship in college at UW. It was for, I signed an NDA, so I can't sign that. But it was like a really private company, and my manager, he was really cool there, and he told me a really thing that stuck with me. It was you can teach someone how to. No, let me try to make sure I phrase this correctly. Right? It was you can teach someone how to work, but you can't teach them to be a person, right? So you can't learn. You can't teach someone how to work with a team. You can't teach someone how to interact with others, but you can teach them how to do that code. You can teach them how to do all this IT stuff. So I was like, you know what? I just gotta show them. An open person.
Yeah.
And I would like to say a lot of that came from Tuni. Tuni built that foundation for me, which I appreciate.
Yeah, I was hopefully, I hope you don't mind me saying this. I was really sad. Last year, he applied for a role on my team. Yeah. Actually, he actually did. He actually got pretty far. He's one of the few people who actually got past the HR screening. He actually got to the interview level. He went through some of the interview rounds. Came to I think it's my manager probably. And then it didn't move forward after that, unfortunately. Yeah. But I was really sad about that. Yeah. I was hoping Justin would have been on my team.
Makes sense.
That would have been fun. But even then, I don't even know if I would have took that job.
Oh yeah.
Because I was gonna get out of that security that I had with State. And I'm like, the pay is a little bit more, but do I want to risk that?
Yeah,
losing my job?
That's true. Well, I work in the private sector, obviously, and with the layoffs happening in the last couple of years in the CS in the computer science industry, tech industry, it is scary. You can be laid off just like that, and
and retirement potentially at 55 is a bigger deal. Then I'm coming up on. Excuse me. Coming up on 4. I'm not crying, by the way. It's just there's combination in here. but I'm coming up on 40. I'm 30. I'm 37. I'm coming up on 40. And a lot of people say like, oh, we'll retire at 65 or something like that. We'll live to, because in their minds, middle age is 50, right? Because everyone thinks they're going to live to 100 or something like that. So they're like, okay, we'll retire at 65. We'll have the rest. We can try to live to 90, 100. But the average lifespan of a male is like 70 something.
Healthy
right?
male.
Yeah, healthy male. It's like 77. So I'm reaching my 40s, so I'm like halfway there already. I'm pretty healthy, right? But so I'm hoping for 80. So I'm reaching 40, and I'm like, I can't retire at 65 or 67. It's like, that's way too late, right?
Like, gives like 10 years with your family.
Exactly, right? So it's like, if you're able to do a job that lets you retire 55, an extra 10 years ahead, where you're likely still able to walk around, enjoy your life, that's a big deal. You definitely get paid less, but that's a big deal to be able to do that.
It's also definitely very hard to look at the long term, especially when you're young. Justin's only in his mid 20s. Me and Gin here are in our mid to late 30s, and it's a whole different perspective. Now. Yeah. I mean, I didn't think about that. When I was Justin's, I didn't think about retiring.
Yeah, no one does, right? Youth is wasted on the young. That's what I say.
I think I wasn't thinking too much about that. I was thinking like, oh, I want to make money when I get out of school. But my uncle were like, hey, the state is nice. Like, if you can get in really early, it's really good for you. Like, once you get that 30 years, you're golden.
From what I know, your uncle still works for the state.
Yep. He's pretty high up right now.
Yeah.
Just keep climbing. I mean, it makes good money. I think he's making like, almost like, I want to say double what I'm making, but you can make money in state. It's gone a lot better. Like before, like 5 years ago, it was really like low income. Like, well, not low income, but like low pay compared to what private.
Yeah, I mean, generally, overall industry average, state and government is generally lower than private, of course, private sector. But like you said, you have your benefits and whatnot.
Yeah, you have to really think far ahead.
Yeah.
So quick question, like one or two final questions, which is, you mentioned that Tilney helped you like build the skills for the interview. What do you think some of the skills that you got from Tilney that kind of help you be, I guess you say, a person?
Right? Persons, So I learned like people who do clubs, like Key Club and stuff, all that stuff. It's like, that's good, right? It's kind of like the same aspect, but with Tilney, I feel like it's so much more rigorous. Like jingjuking, right? You had to be talking in front of at least like 200 or 300 people. You get that public speaking skill, you get that like interaction skill, you get that confidence, and then that all translates into your interviews, right? I went in and I didn't know what I was doing, but I was making them laugh. Right? I was making them feel comfortable, and they're like, this person, he's able to make me laugh.
You threw out a few bang rails, right?
I was like, all right, guys, so let's do the hands up.
It's funny because during my wedding, because of the bang rails I did in Tilney, I kind of did a bang rail during my wedding too.
Yeah.
So besides the ability to speak in front of people and not freak out in front of people, which is a big deal. Was there anything else you felt?
Yeah, I think like teamwork. For sure, right? Like I'm able to know like properly how to delegate my work now. Like the stuff I'm doing for my job, I can be like, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? And I feel more confident, right? In Tilney, I learned like people are capable, right? And then who are capable. You're able to delegate it out and see. You get more trust too. Is another thing.
You probably know people's strengths and weaknesses too, right? So when you delegate the appropriate things.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. For sure. And then if anyone else wants to start, like, get into this profession, what do you recommend? Imagine you're speaking to one of your Hip C. Well, I wonder if any of your Hip C have asked you about your profession at all.
I think a couple have.
Yeah. And they probably have, and they want to go into it. What would you recommend for them to do?
Yeah, I would say, like, school is good, right? If you want to do great in your profession, definitely go to school. It helps you put, like, an edge above where you are. But another thing is learning at home. Right, like self-learning, all your coding, all your development skills, that will help you get that job. That will help you better your skills. CS is continuous learning. You always need to learn to be on top.
Yeah, especially with the AI coming out now. But let me ask you this. Luckily, you got hired just before, during COVID, just before, around there, right? Yeah. Nowadays, it's actually a lot harder to get CS jobs because of AI, unfortunately. Would you still recommend kids going to school for that? Or maybe a specific track in school, or do you recommend that they do something like a trade, or not trade school, like a boot camp style?
Yeah, I think I'm not a big fan of the boot camp stuff.
Can you explain what boot camp is?
I'm sorry.
It's like basically an out of school thing where you get like a certificate, I believe, and you do like 12 weeks of like intense coding. Like you just do straight coding classes, nothing else, and it helps you build that like foundation. I think it's good for learning your skills, but I'm not sure how good it is for interviews or like jobs, because when I have interviews with people show me boot camps. I'm like, okay, like yeah, you have a piece of paper, but you don't have a degree.
Well, I said the same thing about degree.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess degree is the same thing, but I don't even have I do have my degree. I don't have the paper though. They don't send it. But I think it's good for building skills. Like it helps you put another level over people who don't have the boot camp and are just going straight into the job. And you can like supplement it with like a degree and internships. I think the biggest thing is internships. You need internships. You need like part-time jobs, even if it's something like really paid or like really bad, like they don't pay well, or if it's like a part-time, like 2 or 3 hours, still it's worth it. You get the experience and then they see that experience and it helps you.
Do you think it necessarily has to be a coding internship?
Not necessarily. I did my first internship was an IT role, help desk. And then I got boosted up to a sysadmin. And then that helped me better my database skills, right? So I was able to leverage that for my software development job. I forgot the original question. What was the original question?
No. Just if you want to get into the
if I recommend people too. So it's tough. It's very tough. I know like one of my students actually, she got into the UW program for CS, and then like she's kind of stressing out now. She's like, oh man, I don't even know if I get a job. I'm like, because before it used to be you go to CS, you get a job right away. Like there's no question. Now it's like up in the air.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of pharmacy too. Like it was a very hot thing. So then they opened a bunch of schools for pharmacy, and now there's way too many pharmacists, right? It reminds me of stocks too, which is like once everyone is talking about the stock or once everyone is talking about it, then it might be a little bit too late because by the time you start the school, likely it's by the time you graduate, likely be a little bit too saturated. So.
I don't know if I forgot if I mentioned this on the podcast before, or I mentioned it just in general with my friends. But like we're at an interesting point right now in the industry with AI and AI agents. Like for example, my company stops hiring entry-level engineers anymore, software engineers, in favor of more senior ones with AI experience, because that's what we're putting out.
Yeah.
So it's definitely harder nowadays.
Yeah. I think one big thing though is even with AI, it doesn't. I mean, I haven't played around with the new stuff yet. It might be crazy.
Yeah.
I know like it'll tell you like what to do for your code, but it doesn't help like really bug fixes and like you still need to understand the code in order to do it. AI is more of like a supplement where it helps you do your job. So
and that's what Vin is saying because it's a supplementation that normally an entry level would do.
But now the senior developer can go on ChatGPT and paste in like the snippet of code, like tell me, hey, here's a snippet of code, tell me what's wrong with the code, how do I fix it? It'll tell me that,
Yeah.
And you're not gonna give it the whole entire thing, but just that whole part.
I honestly think that's where pharmacy is going to move towards too, because you still need at least a middle ground, which is you can use AI to figure out a lot of medication recommendation that maybe you might need a lower level pharmacist to do, but you can just get AI to do that now. And then as a different kind of pharmacist, you just look over the answers and you can kind of, because you work there for a while, you kind of know if something is right or wrong, right? So you don't have to spend all the money or time to figure out that lower level stuff. You just get the results and then higher level thinking saying, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and I think almost every industry is going to be like that, which is kind of sad because now you don't have any lower level position open anymore. So how do you develop new ones, right?
Right. I think that's where we come up with different fields, or not different fields, but like for example, in the CS industry or IT industry, entry-level developers might be going downhill, but things like sysadmin or DevOps is still going up. So there's other roles that will just change because of that. Because of the AI, because you still need a lot of people to manage the infrastructure for the AI. So
so more AI roles, entry level AI roles.
Like really. just get into AI as a CS student, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Actually, it was funny. Not too long ago, somebody in Zhongmeng, now go back to TNCT here. Somebody in Zhongmeng emailed our IT team asking, "Hey, where is Hongjiao at with AI right now? Where are we using it? Are we implementing it? How's that going?" Yeah, somebody asked us that. Somebody at a high level, and actually, our IT team has developed some things related to it. Like now, there's an app that one of them developed where you can go on there and ask it something about the Nội or Nghi Thức. Like, hey, what's the requirement to be a Dongjung? And it'll spit back out the answer because it just uses the Nội as the
source. Is this an active app?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's cool.
Well, it's not. Well, it's active. It's not like really publicized yet.
Gotcha. Put that on your resume. Yeah. I bet that would look good, right?
We're working on stuff like that, so to help Hunjungs, to make them easier for them.
Okay. Can you do one where I take a picture or listen to the Morse and it just tells me the answer?
Oh, I'm sure there's stuff like
that. That's super easy. You can do that with like normal apps.
Yeah, there's no really AI for that.
Sounds good. Yeah. Okay. I'll make sure the kids bring their phone next time to the next camp.
Any other feedback or comments you have or advice you have for kids in general?
Yeah.
I think of some. It's a lot. Towards the degree or CS, I think mainly just jobs. Like to start early when you're in college, even though it's tough. I worked like 2 jobs when I was there. I did my schedule when I was at UW. I feel I was going through it, but I think 6 a.m. I'd wake up and then I'd drive to Bellevue. So it was like a 30-minute drive from Seattle, and I worked from like 6:30 till 12, and then I would go back home, eat lunch, and then go back to school from like 1 to like 7, and then go back home, do homework, and then play games, of course. You got to make sure I'm okay.
You built that computer, right?
Yeah, exactly. But that's like my whole schedule. And I was doing that for a year, and that was burning me out like crazy.
But do you think that paid off in the end?
Oh, it definitely paid off. It was a 6-month internship, and it got extended to 2 years total. And it helped me build my resume up and my people skills.
Yeah.
So work hard now. It'll pay off in the end.
Mm-hmm. And what Justin said really reminds me, like Theo Nhi really kind of changes who you are and really help out with your main job. Because normally I just think about Theo Nhi in the past as 2 things, which is one, you can put it on your resume when you're a new person. You can put it in, I'm in a youth group, so it looks good. Mm-hmm. And the second thing is you can ask your Huichiong to write like a recommendation letter for you, right? But I never thought beyond that until when I started doing more of these podcasts. But really, it really changes who you are and develop most of the time into a good thing. Mm-hmm. Able to communicate better, able to just be in front of people and not be afraid. So.
For most people, yes. For me, I still suck at public speaking, and I've been Hunjung for like 18 years now, right?
That's why you started a podcast.
Yeah, I'm learning. I'm still learning here.
That's not, you're not scared of public speaking. You do a podcast. Yeah,
you do. Literally.
Different story.
Literally, millions of people are watching, right? So.
Like 5 people.
5 million people.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Justin. I mean, I trust you guys. You're both computer science, so you know your numbers. Yeah. So, but really appreciate Justin for stopping by, and really hope to hear more from you soon, and hopefully we're not all replaced by AI in the future. So
I would hate that.
Yeah. Well, cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.